campaign initiated by Globe that will help enable institutions in their journey towards digital transformation. And today's session will be an opportunity for stakeholders like you, of course, to listen and find out how Globe can pave the way for the future of learning for your schools via our ecosystem of enablers. You know that the future is just within our reach, and everyone here shares a part in creating it. And to officially open our session this afternoon, to give her welcome remarks, the Head of Strategy, Innovation, and Transformation for Globe My Business, let us all give a round of applause to Ms. Mitch Tapia.
So I'm the real Miss Tapia. For those of you who know the TV show, I'm the real Miss Tapia. Anyway, good afternoon to everyone. I hope you're not sleepy. I know what you ate for lunch, so I hope you don't fall asleep. This is my happy place. All the education technology events are happy places for me because of my love for education and the thrust of improving education in the country. I see familiar faces. I'm happy that you are here. Mga suki namin, from the Prism Digital Literacy Program to Ignite, Education Innovation Conference, and all our other education events. Thank you for the media who've been supporting our drive to improve education in the Philippines. Okay, this will be a wonderful afternoon. We're launching a very important campaign for education. This has been in the oven for quite some time, and we wanted to make sure that we share this with you at the right time and right place. And this is the right time and right place to launch Shifted. I won't say much because I am reserving my words for my closing keynote later, but you'll have a short but sweet program for this afternoon. I hope you enjoy it. Ask questions. We love questions from you so that we can be more engaging in our conversation and work together. We know that improving or transforming education in the Philippines, in our country, cannot be done by one organization or one sector. We need to collaborate. Private sector, educational institutions, government, media. Okay, media is doing education, right? You think that it's a one way, but you're actually imparting a lot of knowledge and wisdom to your audience. So media is a critical component of working towards a world-class education in the Philippines. So without further ado, I'll turn you over to the team who did a great job preparing for this. And I hope you enjoy the afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mitch, for that warm welcome. Now, as we all know, Globe My Business is one with the nation in helping build the digital bridge, of course, to global competitiveness. And this afternoon, I'd like to call in the segment head for education for Globe My Business to officially launch Shifted. Let us put our hands together for Mr. Richie Ramos.
Magandang hapon. Good afternoon, guys. Nabusog ba kayo sa inyong mga kinain? Yung mga hindi pa kumain, merong pagkain pagkatapos ng event natin. Alright. So anyway, so again, I'm Richie Ramos. So I'm the segment head for education for Globe My Business. We all know that digital transformation is one of the hottest or probably the hottest topic in the 21st century, right? So, and that is one of the reasons why we are here in this event. We want to find out more about it. And truth be told, the crucial elements of digital transformation are still to be clearly defined, and the areas of intervention are yet to be defined. Okay, so overall, digital transformation is not about technology. It's about a new way of doing business. And as this one corporate person states, when it comes to digital transformation, digital is not the answer, but transformation is. So magandang hapon, welcome to this exclusive press briefing of Globe My Business. Hopefully, we'll be able to shift the way that you look at the future of learning. And now, I officially launch Shifted. Shifted is a program of Globe My Business that aims to enable academic institutions, just like yours, in your journey towards digital transformation via a better education system supported by an ecosystem of enablers. Over the years, Globe has been more than just a telco, and we have become a purveyor of digital lifestyle by creating a better experience to impact the lives of the Filipino in the best way that we can. And we envision a Philippine where students learn with technology and their lives change with a better quality of education. So why is Globe doing what it is doing now? Because as part of our Globe purpose or vision or mission, we believe that providing learning opportunities for all will pave the way for a better life and help in fulfilling the Filipino dreams. We now have a generation who is in a world that is always online. They are living in micromoments from the moment they wake up, right? What is the first thing that they get or they use? From the moment before they sleep, before they eat or during eating, when they enter the class. So I'm a professor as well, so I notice that to my students before they enter the class, cell phone, even during my classes, because I allow them to use technology also as part of our digital learning. They use the mobile as well. So technology is no longer a trend, but it is a must moving forward. And these are the programs that we hope to create impact for you and the whole education system. So guys, this is shifted. Can you go back to the previous slide? We have partnered with schools to transform education via Shifted and Ignite. We develop programs that will enable teachers to better communicate with their students. We also design programs that would prepare students for the future jobs and workplaces. So I'll be discussing each one of the activities in a bit. So the first one is Ignite. Ignite is a learning session. And I think some of you have attended this last year, where we conducted this in one of the schools in Manila. This learning session talks about insights, use cases, and trends on how we can shape the future of learning. If you want to attend this exclusive session, we will hold one this year. Talk to us, and let's make this happen. Digital Thumbprint Program, or DTP, is a responsible digital citizenship training for students. It talks about online safety, security, etiquette, online responsibility. We teach to empower students online and teach them to be digital discernment for online critical thinking. To date, 17,315 and more students have experienced DTP. And to date, we have 1,729 and growing number of teacher ambassadors for DTP. We can help your students to be a more responsible digital citizen. Talk to us and let's make this happen. We also have Prism. Mitch mentioned about this particular program, and I think some of you have attended this particular program. Prism is a program for teachers to help improve their digital literacy. So it has it's actually a 3-week session with 5 different activities. So the first one is a pre-assessment session for us to be able to understand the digital literacy level of the teachers. And then after that, it's a 2-day boot camp wherein we have different learning sessions, which you will find on the right side, on the left side, if you're looking at the screen. So we have programs such as Getting to Know the Youth. We have another program which is all about motivating creative ways of learning, pitching a digital community project, promoting digital literacy in campus, digitizing classroom assessments, engaging the parents and the community, and creating a professional online presence. The most popular one is the one in orange. It's actually gamification. Then there is a 3-week distance learning session which gives these educators, teachers, an opportunity to work on the projects that will be assigned to them. And they are given access to digital consultants, which they can access any time of the day. They can consult, they can ask questions. Then we have the expo. The expo is a culmination of all the learnings. It's the day wherein they should be able to showcase what they have learned from this particular program. And lastly, of course, we conduct post-assessment session to measure how they have improved. And as a matter of fact, around 850 teachers participated for the 5 Prism runs that we have conducted nationwide so far, and we will be conducting Prism also this year. And 53% of them have improved their digital literacy. So we can help your teachers to be digital ready. Talk to us, and let's make this happen. We also have an ongoing program. It's called Global Filipino Schools, which seeks to transform public schools to pave the way for their digital journey. In this program, we provide them connectivity, we provide them devices and training. We have built so far around 142 global Filipino schools to date and growing. We have covered 135 out of the 221 DepEd regions, or 16 out of the 18 regions in the Philippines to date. Around 268,000 students have experienced the effect of GFS, and we have trained around 10,000 teachers and growing. If you are what we are looking for, talk to us and let's make it happen. We also have free digital learning and productivity solutions. So we have partnered with the like of Google and Microsoft Office, and we give free licenses for G Suite for Education and Microsoft Office O365, given a school as a domain. Also with Edmodo, we bring to schools a free use of a basic learning management system, which can be the start of their digitalization. As a matter of fact, DepEd Negros is a user of Edmodo, and they use it to conduct learning classes in their regional office. So we can help you in this first step towards your digitalization. Talk to us, and we can make this happen for you. And at Globe My Business, we also recognize the importance of learning beyond the classroom. Thus, we partnered with ojtph.com. Thank you, Sir Jonathan. You will meet Sir Jonathan in a bit, to ensure that we can help enhance the immersion of students in their chosen field. So would you like to connect your students for them to be able to find the right companies during their OJT? Talk to us, and let's make this happen. Guys, this is shifted. And this is Globe My Business' commitment in shaping a digital nation. If you are interested in any of these programs, talk to us, and let's make this happen. So before I end my short presentation, I'd like to share with you a program, which is a first that we have conducted just recently. This program is called Projected. It is actually a nationwide video competition open to all senior high schools. And we asked the question, how is technology changing how you learn today? So we asked the youth to create a 3-minute video using only their intelligent phones and tell us what technology means to them. And these are just some of the examples that we received. We received almost 100 entries. I'm one of the judges. I'm still reviewing the 50th video. There's a lot. And the students are very good. And they are very lucky as well. So we received almost 100 entries from public and private high schools in Metro Manila to Luzon, all the way to Visayas and Mindanao. So the awarding of the grand winners will happen on March 8 at the Globe Auditorium in Maybank Performing Arts Theater in BGC. So if you want to witness this first event for projected and to witness, how talented or how good the students are nowadays, you can talk to me later and I can make that happen for you. So are you ready to shift and create the future of learning? Let's start a meaningful conversation. You can also visit our booth, number 56 in the exhibition hall. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And congratulations, if I must say. With the launch of Shifted, everyone, we take another step closer toward building education in the Philippines that is future ready to empower and develop a more globally competitive Filipinos. Don't you all agree? All right. And in engaging the interesting conversation of the ecosystem of enablers toward a digitally connected education in the Philippines, we have invited the following panel resources, authorities in their respective fields, to join us this afternoon in the discussion. Allow me to introduce them to you. Our first panelist is from the University of San Carlos. Let us welcome Dr. Richard Chuck Lugar. Please take a seat. Our second panelist is from the Philippine Normal University. Let us give a big hand to Dr. Marlene Balagtas. Our third panelist is Mr. Jonathan De Luzuriaga, President of PSIA in Spring Valley. And last but definitely not the least, the segment head for education for Globe My Business. We just heard him a while ago. Mr. Richie Ramos, please join us here. Now, before I ask each of you the question, I would also be requesting if you could just give a short background about yourself, what you do, and how do you envision a 21st century learning. Can we start with, of course, Sir Dr. Richard Lugar?
Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see you here. I am Richard Lugar. You can call me Chuck. So I'm the Director of Basic Education for the University of San Carlos. I'm also the Subject Area Coordinator for the Teacher Education Program for the Establishment of Mobility and Equivalency in Southeast Asia. You can call me Chuck, and it's pleasant to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chuck. How about Dr. Marlene?
Hello to everyone. I'm Marlene Balagtas from the Philippine Normal University, and I'm the Dean of the College of Flexible Learning and EPNU. This is the college that takes care of, degree and non-degree programs that are offered online, and we also take care of the continuing professional development programs of the university. And I am also the concurrent director of the Institute of Knowledge Management, and it's another new unit in the university that takes care of processes that would lead to knowledge discovery, creation, utilization, and dissemination. And as to your question as to what my belief is of 21st century learning, to me, this is a learning that enables our learners and even teachers to be relevant, to be flexible, innovative, and that's why I embrace the vision of our university to be a nationally relevant and internationally recognized teacher education institution in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Marlene. It's a pleasure to have you here. Of course, the President of PSIA, Mr. Jonathan De Luzuriaga.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jonathan Defensor De Luzuriaga. People in the industry call me JDL. I am currently the president of the Philippine Software Industry Association. This is my 4th year of presidency. Nobody wants the job. I also happen to be the CEO of Spring Valley, which is my manifestation of my midlife crisis. I'm trying to put together the Silicon Valley of the Philippines, and it's in the beautiful island of Panay. I'm also here in a special capacity. I'm the founder of OJTPH.com. I'm currently sitting on the technical working group of the Commission on Higher Education Student Internship Program. And more importantly, I'm a father who has 2 children in college. That's why this is a very important forum for me. Good afternoon. 21st century.
Yes.
This is now the turning of the page wherein the educator is now going to become a curator of content, and he or she is going to be a co-learner. This is the big shift from how we or at least those in my generation were educated. And we need a lot of enablers in order for us to be competitive globally, because we're not just competing with the students are no longer competing with the student next to them, but they're competing with the whole world.
Thank you very much, Sir JDL. And finally, Sir Richie.
Do I need to introduce myself?
Maybe
They have such big credentials.
Yeah, they do.
All right. So anyway, so my name again is Richie Ramos. So I'm one of the segment heads, and I handle the education industry for Globe, my business. Just to add, I'm also a part-time professor. I currently teach in one of the universities in Manila. Okay, so a 21st century learner. 21st century learner, an educator such as me, who is trusting the students with the use of technology and encouraging them to use technology not just as a form of entertainment, but as a form of learning as well.
All right. Thank you very much to all of our panelists. Can we give them a round of applause? That's a great start to our discussion. So let's get the ball rolling. The question is addressed to Dr. Chuck and Dr. Marlin. Technology is an enabler of change, yet schools, colleges, and universities have differing priorities. How has that affected the adoption of technology in your institution?
Okay, I agree that technology is an enabler of change, and that definitely affects the way we teach our students. And in the case of PNU, we are gradually transforming our programs so that they could not just be taken face-to-face or the traditional way, but this could be made available to all through our offering of our online degree and non-degree programs. So that's one effect of technology to us, that we try to make our program more accessible to all. And in that case, we had to increase our connectivity because that is very important in the offering of online programs. We have to also increase the server, the capacity of our server, and the capacity of our teachers to handle programs online. So that's what we are doing at present. And I'm sharing that because I'm the one heading now the college that takes care of such program. And we are also moving on to offering training programs that could also be delivered online. And in fact, this year, we have a repertoire of training packages that we hope to offer via blended learning, one day at least face-to-face, and the rest would be online. So that's another effort that we're doing at present.
Thank you, Dr. Marlin. Dr. Chuck?
Yeah, good afternoon again. Well, I come from Cebu, from the University of San Carlos. It's actually a trivial matter that USC was the first institution in the Philippines to have to be connected in the internet, actually, yeah. In our case, we technically divide things into two, because first is, of course, academics, and the rest is student institutional support. In our case, we are still in the process of performing an integrated learning management system. It's very important, actually, and nobody actually talks about that, an integrated learning management system in the Philippines, whereby we're not only talking here about modules for students or academics, we're talking about institutional learning management system. What happens when the teacher gets herself absent? What will the students do? What if there's an outbreak of sickness? What platforms do we use so that education will never stop? What type of assessments? Where do we store them? So stuff like that. So in our case in USC, we are in a transition because we're taking care of the academics and the support units at the same time. So for instance, we migrated everything from in-school enrollment to online enrollment, meaning to say, enrollment time, you can't see students in school. You can see a few. These are the blocked. Like, they got blocked because of, not necessarily because of academics, but they got blocked because they have utang in the guidance office, in the registrar, and many other things. So it's actually a good idea to always include in the integrated learning management system the support services, because it's not always about students' enrollment. Students will never grow without these auxiliary services. So in USC, that's the two-pronged approach. We're not getting there very fast. It's actually a very incremental process, and we've conducted some benchmarking in Singapore, but it's not holistic, just one tidbit at a time. So the online enrollment, coursework availability, students can look at students' grade, parents can can pay everywhere. So it's a very good start. So hopefully it will get to continue.
Thank you. But there's another follow-up question either of you may answer. Can you share with us how you have transitioned your school so far in making your admin task, as you have mentioned, more efficient, improving teacher-student communication or connectivity?
There are two ways. The USC did it both ways. First one is we have our own School of Engineering and the School of Arts and Sciences. So we tap the in-house talents to create for us we call that the ISMIS, or the Integrated School Management Information System. So that's everything is in there, administrative, finance, and as well as academics. On the other hand, because we cannot do everything, we also outsource packages. For instance, we outsource an integrated text brigade program so that because I'm the one declaring no classes for basic ed, I cannot sleep if there's typhoon, signal number 1, or so on and so forth. So just one text, everybody gets it, for example. And we also employ attendance monitoring system, things like this. So it's actually a two-pronged approach still, internal talent development scheme as well as external outsourcing for partners. Actually, Globe is one of our partners. Yeah.
Of course. Thank you very
So
much.
in the
Yes,
case of
Dr. Man.
PNU, let me start with our offerings, because when we started our online programs, we started with only a few courses, particularly the ones that are covered in our certificate in teaching program. This is actually a program taken up by those who are non-education professionals but would want to become teachers. So we have courses that are delivered online, but now we expanded that to include courses in our graduate programs, particularly mathematics and science education. So that is as far as our academic programs are concerned. And in terms of how we handle our class, in a 3-unit course, usually we have to teach our students face-to-face for 54 hours, but now we had to modify the way we deliver our course such that 2/3 of the time of the 3-unit course would be spent for face-to-face and the rest would be online or for flexible learning activities, to include the use of internet, the use of, giving that time for students to interact with one another or to do some sort of independent learning. So that's how we budget our 54-hour teaching for every 3-unit course. I've mentioned also that in terms of training, we are transitioning from pure face-to-face training to making it more affordable and also accessible to all teachers, even across the country. As you know, PNU is the National Center for Teacher Ed. We have to really reach out to more teachers. So that's another area that we are trying to transform to make us more relevant to our stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chuck and Dr. Marlin. Now this question goes to our President JDL. Do you think much of the sector is prioritizing EdTech investment?
We're talking about the software and technology angle. Thank you for asking me the difficult questions. The answer is no. Primarily because, number one, we are one of the few countries that would have several segments within government that have touch points with education. We've got DepEd, we've got the Commission on Higher Education, we've got TESDA. In other countries, that's only going to be one organization. Second, public school here is still relatively challenged when it comes to funding, when it comes to access to curriculum and so on and so forth. Third, I always compare upgrading curriculum here to giving birth 10 times, right? It's so difficult to change curriculum. That's why, from a business standpoint, why would we even bother jumping into a stream that is very shallow? So the business people would always think about what would be the lift. In as much as there's a lot of people, especially the millennial generation, who really don't care much about revenue. They care about doing good. They care about reserving their seat up there. But for your typical businessman, it's very, very difficult to jump into something because right now it's just going in 7 different directions. Now, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news here. The good news is that things are changing and changing fast. if we're going to base it on the roadmap that we have as an industry, it's saying three things. One is there's going to be massive digitization. Second, now that everything is digitized, it's so easy to put a layer of automation and artificial intelligence into all of these things. And the third is traditional business models will be challenged. So even the way we used to get educated, wherein we go to a school, we pay a tuition, and so on and so forth. You go to any of the Ivy League universities in the US, they're all giving away content for free. And I always tell this to students. Now, I'm traveling to Pampanga again tomorrow to talk to a bunch of deans of business about the same, more or less the same topic. And I always get invited to speak in front of students, probably because I do a very good job in scaring them. And I always tell them, nowadays, stupidity is optional. If you really want to learn, just go online. You could learn practically anything.
Right. There's another follow-up question. In your opinion, what is the importance of digital literacy in preparing our students to their future jobs and to be successful in their potential workplace?
Thank you again for that very easy question. Okay, digital literacy is now as basic as communications. Before, the thrust was, let us all teach our workforce to speak English. Let's leverage that because English is the language of business, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you're not digitally literate, your chances of landing a job is very, very slim. In fact, for software development companies within our community, we don't even care where you graduated and what you graduated from. We will give you a problem. We'll open a coding environment in front of you and say, okay, my problem is I get inventory from 17 warehouses. It goes to one warehouse, and then it gets delivered to 23 warehouses. Write me beautiful code that is going to solve my problem, right? And then we leave. We leave the applicant. We have coffee for 5 hours in Starbucks. 9 out of 10 times when we go back, that seat is empty. Why? Again, it's less than 5%. It's less than 5% that we hire coming from the academe. These are very staggering numbers. In fact, I think last year it was all over the news that 67% of graduates are not employable according to the Philippine Software Industry Association. 24 hours after, my board of directors was all over the place saying, let's get on a conference call, this is alarming, etc. And I said, are you alarmed with 67%? I'll take that. I'll take that twice on a Sunday because the real number is 92% are not employable. And why do I know this? Well, even if we hire fresh grads, even the cream of the crop, we still have to train them for 6 to 8 months. And we're still not certain if we are going to hire them or they're going to pass afterwards. 6 to 8 months, that's beyond the Department of Labor, safety elbow room of 5 months, no, for casual, what do you call this, for probation employment. So that's the situation that we have. But again, there's light at the end of the tunnel because most of the people that I come across with in the industry are, number one, not really students of technology, but they decided to learn on their own. So I guess with what Richie was showing a while ago in terms of solutions coming from a major telco like a digital lifestyle provider like Globe, then it's much easier for us to actually bridge the gap in terms of academe and industry.
Very well said, our president. Thank you very much. To Richie, technology is a huge investment, right? What do you think the schools need to do to start this transition and hopefully be successful in this digital transformation?
I think one of the first thing that the schools or institutions of learning need to realize is that technology is not an expense, but it is an investment. And with investment, you need to properly plan on what you need to do moving forward. So first thing first, assess your current situation. What do you have now? What are the things that you can use? What are the things that you think you might be able to use? And then next is look at your vision. And then set your future goals. Make a roadmap. Things doesn't happen, you know, in 1 year, a month, 2 years, 3 years. But create a roadmap. Create a set of future plan. And then maybe next, what you can do is build trust and commitment from all of the different stakeholders in the education system. Talk to the parents, talk to the students, talk to the people behind the school, talk to the educators, talk to the education associations. And especially in the internal stakeholders of the institutions, you need to create a game plan as well. Once you'll be able to set a roadmap, tell them also that these are the things that we will do so that we can enable you, so that we'll be able to ensure that you'll be successful in all of these initiatives or efforts. And then create conversations, attend sessions such as this, look at the trends, look at the insights, talk to Globe My Business. We have a lot of things that we can offer you. We can help set the future goal for future goals for you. We don't just have connectivity, but we have a slew of other products and solutions as well. And then take that first step. Do a pilot. It doesn't mean that you have to do it for school-wide. You know, maybe just do one pilot in one group or class or one organization. And then look, you know, constantly monitor and ensure that your objectives are clear, that you have set your success metrics. Definitely, what I'm trying to say is that technology, it's a huge investment, but you need to properly plan it, and you have to be very clear with what you want to achieve. And I think if you do that, more often than not, you'll be successful in your initiatives.
All right, thank you very much. The questions are for Dr. Chuck and Dr. Marlin. What 3 things do school need to think about when looking for the most cost-effective and high-quality technology? And what are the specific challenges the Philippines is facing when it comes to adoption of technology in schools?
Okay, first question first. As an administrator, especially, it is important that we go back first to our mission, vision, and our directional matrix before we procure any technology to employ in our schools. That's ground zero, actually. In my case, the first one for me is what I call as integrability of the technology. Because sometimes we need to know where our school is and get the appropriate level with the technology that we want to employ. Because sometimes it really goes to waste. For instance, if the school is not very much ready for robotics, for instance, do not procure high-end robotics kits. It will really go to waste. You cannot readily integrate it in the curriculum. So that's the first criteria when I choose. Ground zero is it's aligned to our vision mission. The second one is we call that as customizability. When we buy products, it is important for us that we can customize it so that it can perfectly fit to our need. And by customization, it's just not about tweakability in terms of the extant resources, but at the same time, the presence of credible evaluative measures in terms of the performance of the product, at the same time, the outcomes with respect to the outcomes of our students. Because there are products that cannot be evaluated. We should not make decisions without data. It's very detrimental for our schools. And the third one is that I consider to become very cost-effective is excellent after-sales support. Because if there's no after-sales, which we often forget when we buy stuff for our school, we're very happy at first. Then after that, okay, you're on your own. Goodbye. Remember, it's an investment. If it is an investment, we take good care of our investment for many returns. So if I may repeat, ground zero is it's aligned to your mission vision. First one is it has to be integrable in the extant program. Second is tweakability or customizability, including generation of data for assessment, both the product itself and on our students. And the third one is, of course, we're talking here about the third one is okay, I lost my words. Excellent technical support. With respect to one of the greatest hindrance for technology integration, it's actually very philosophical in nature on our end. It's actually very paradigmatic oriented. You see, as long as we don't trust young teachers in our field to do their thing, and we are dominated by very experienced and I think that's the political way of saying it, very experienced and very stable paradigm. Sometimes it's very hard to argue, and it's counterproductive to enforce a new paradigm. It's my experience because I'm relatively young actually, and program enforcement sometimes takes a lot of energy for it to continue. The good thing is there is very good support on my end. So that's the philosophical thing. It's very paradigmatic. The second one is our very own teacher education program is not very keen actually in stipulating. One of the problems in the teacher education program is that there are just 2 edtechs, right? We just offer 2 educational technology courses. And if you look at the syllabi of these courses, there is no such thing as technology recency. What do I mean? The technology that we teach our teachers who will be future teachers is not very recent. So if it's not very recent, it means that if they go to the field and they teach that, recency is everything in technology. If it's not recent, it's not nice. If you don't have an iPhone X, for example, or iPhone 10 is always greater than iPhone 8. I mean, seriously. So those are the 2 things, paradigmatic in terms of leadership, and at the same time, the teacher education program, they're doing a very good job in fixing it. Hopefully, we will get to sustain it. Yes, thank you very much.
I think the 3 things that I would like schools to consider in the selection of high-quality technology include, first, relevance. Just like what you mentioned, I think we need to ensure that this technology that we are procuring in the language of a state university is leading to the realization of the vision and mission of the university. Like in our case, we envision that our graduates become innovative teachers and education leaders. So we have to ensure that this technology that we want for our university leads to that kind of graduates that we want to produce. The second is efficiency. Of course, we know that cost is there, but we have to ensure that technology is within our budget. We are constrained by, procurement process, and so we cannot just readily buy any technology that we want, but it has to be within our budget, and it should really be of use for a longer time, not just for a one-time use. And the third criterion I think that we have to consider is the usability of the technology, that we could maximize its use. It cannot just be for the consumption of one unit, but for the entire system if possible. Like in the case of PNU, we have one system with 5 campuses. We have to make sure that the technology we buy could be maximized by the entire system. So these are the 3 things. And to the follow-up question you mentioned about
the specific challenges,
the challenges
the Philippines faces.
Well, based on my experience, because I'm just 7 months old in my position, so I'm relatively new in my position. I used to direct a research center, but now I'm placed to a different post. Well, in my experience, there are 2 things that I faced, which I consider as challenge. First is, budget. When I came in, I don't know yet how to procure those technology that I thought I need to run a college and to offer online programs. I said, I want to convert all our programs to become online, but the question here is, is your connectivity strong? Do you have, a lot of servers that could accommodate, all these programs that you want to run? So these were the issues raised to me, and I thought I could readily say yes to those, to offering online programs, but we have to make our system ready. So that's one challenge. So budget is one challenge. Like at this stage, we are already planning what to procure next year. So if we don't know what technology is there in the field, and because we are not exposed to exhibits like this, then we won't be able to include this in our plans. We won't be able to get them the time we need them. So that's one thing. And the second is, I think, the capacity of the teachers to make use of this technology. Recently, we got support from Globe. So Globe sponsored the Prism digital literacy program for our teachers. And what I did, being, again, the one in charge of the continuing professional development program of the university, we engaged all teachers, all our educators, even our students, to go through this 3-week training program offered to us by Globe in cooperation with Habi. So that's our step to making our teachers ready, because we know technology could be procured if they are well planned and the budget is there. But again, the issue is if the teachers are ready to use them to facilitate teaching and learning. So these are the 2 challenges that I'm facing right now, and I hope I could survive in overcoming this. Thank you.
All right. Can I just add from what you said? You mentioned about, you are not really aware of, sessions such as this. So consider yourself invited in the Ignite learning session that we will conduct, right? So yes, so for this year also we will do one towards 3rd or 4th quarter of the year we're in. We will talk about trends, we will talk about insights, use cases, and hopefully we'll be able to help you and handhold you in your journey towards digitalization. Thank you.
Great. That's one way of a great collaboration already between Globe and PNU, right? So this last question goes to our president, Sir Jonathan. What do you think should be done? You are our president this afternoon.
Make me sound like Digong. Anyway.
Yes, why not? That's your title. What do you think should be done by schools to be at par? But we're talking about with other nations in terms of education in the global competitiveness. So we're talking about outside.
What's the best practice that we've seen here? You cannot improve on anything that you could not measure. Okay? So if your only measurement is your own internal tests, and you're not benchmarking against global standards, then I don't think you're going to go anywhere. Okay. Listening to our 2 representatives, our friends from the academe, it's always the issue when it comes to schools. So there's new technology out there. Let's buy it. It's going to cost an arm and a leg. Let's raise the tuition so we could cover this. And it's a vicious cycle. I mentioned a while ago that the third manifestation of this entire digital journey for the entire world is that there will be new business models that will emerge. So the traditional technology purchase before was that I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to buy this for an arm and a leg, right? Right now they are subscription-based. There's even proof of concepts first before you even. So for those schools and universities and colleges that are inside the room, I would advise that you test drive it first. Second, don't fix what ain't broken. Technology is supposed to solve your problems in the most efficient way possible. Don't go on a shopping spree. Ay, maganda yan. Sige, bilhin natin. Right? I mean, if it's not part of the entire roadmap, again, no. If it's not alluding to what Richie was saying, if you don't have a roadmap right now, I think maybe that's one of the things that Globe could really help out in terms of the academic sector, helping schools create their roadmaps, no, more than coming up with a menu of offerings. So, going back to your question, how do we now compete? We've always benchmarked ourselves internally against other schools, wherein on an annual basis there's going to be a list of the best schools in the world, and apparently it's only been 3 or 4 universities in the Philippines, and we rank very, 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 very low. And it's very erratic. This year we're somewhere up there. One school is going to be up there. The second one is going to be, the second year it's going to be so way below. And that's because we are competing internally, which is ironic because one of the bread and butter of this nation is actually sending people overseas. I don't think that's going to change within the next couple of years. But when we benchmark from an education standpoint, we benchmark internally against the next school, the other school, the school from the next province, wherein we should be benchmarking, the Ivy League colleges and universities, schools in Australia, looking at the system in which how Singapore runs its education. In Singapore, even before you become you want to have children, if you want your child to go to a selected school, before you even make the child, you already have to contribute to your own scorecard. Meaning to say, you have to do your own citizen work, live within a particular area that is close to the school, and so on and so forth, bringing value to yourself and to your family, so that your child could be on top of the pecking order when it comes to selection. It's that advanced. And here we're even talking about, how do I send my child to school? I'm going to end this positively. Things are changing, and it's very people-oriented. And it's very, it's driven more or less by the resolution of the leaders of the academic institutions. What am I saying? Before, we used to take it from what? The graduates, the choice graduates would be coming from, Ateneo, LaSalle, UP, UST. When we made a survey across all software development and IT schools, most of the students that we hire are actually coming from TUP, PUP, Lyceum, and so on and so forth. So all of these before that were looked down upon are now on top, and it's constantly changing. Because that is the beautiful thing about technology. It's an equalizer. So even the small schools that are very niche could now get ahead and get some real traction, primarily because if you've got a good person who puts together a very good roadmap when it comes to technology, aligned with, again, the value system of your school and what you believe in, then I think that's going to change the way our school systems or our education system is producing the output, and will make us a little bit more globally competitive.
That's great. Thank you, Sir Jonathan. That's a positive note to end this panel discussion. As you said before, we thought that rain is the great equalizer. Now it's technology, right? So I am giving our guests the chance to ask our panelists this afternoon any questions that might have been lingering in your mind since we have started. I'll be opening the floor now. Yes, please. One at the back. Maybe let's provide a microphone.
Hi, good afternoon to our speakers. Thank you for all the wonderful insights that you shared with us today. I'm actually from the media sector, and I actually want to ask, digitizing the whole learning ecosystem will actually also create a lot of data about the students, about the processes, about the very content that you're creating within the system. Do you also see that growth of data as another way to improve how education is happening now, even to disrupt how processes, tools, and people are being created, and so on?
May I answer this first? I'll tell you the story of ojtph.com. Okay. So I was once tapped by Pangasinan in Dagupan to create a roadmap for IT and BPO because they wanted to attract some level of employment and create jobs there. When I asked for all the graduates within the past 2 to 3 years, they weren't there. So I was asking them, where are your software developers, where are your IT? The record shows that they were graduating close to, 1,000, a little less than 1,000. But they weren't there anymore. Because during their OJT period, they would go to Pampanga, they would go to Manila, and then they won't go back. Hopefully they found jobs in their respective academic disciplines. So I was thinking to myself, I can't even see any record online. Even if you download the CHED's latest numbers or DepEd, it's going to be a little bit delayed, right? Not as delayed as our financial records, because our financial records is always 2 years delayed. Sorry, I'm the controversial one. So again, with all of this digitization that's happening, obviously, it's going to be so easy to play around with things. Anyway, nobody wants to talk like this anymore. This is a very rare moment now, right? I know we're live somewhere, so so the people who don't want to go here would be seeing these discussions as well. They're not missing out on anything. What we did was really just a plain and simple matching platform. You're a company, you could accommodate X number of OJTs or trainees. There's, 50 people from Catanduanes who took up computer science. There's no computer science company near the area that could take them in. So instead of, saying goodbye to their families, traveling to the nearest city and staying there, it's now also the trigger in which the local ecosystem would now be forced to come up with a space that could accommodate internship there. Because the real intention of OJTPH is we don't want to disrupt the basic structure of society, which is family. You have to leave, you have to go to Manila and, or Metro Cebu or where, and you don't want to go back to your. So again, now the challenge is also all of these records are floating around, right? That's why we're very happy that the Philippine government has finally created the Privacy Commission. Because obviously this is also very, very valuable data that's going to be floating around. Somebody posted yesterday, all of a sudden, there's a new job that is very hot in the market right now. And you know what this job is? The data privacy officer. All of a sudden, we are so behind, 5 years behind in terms of producing data privacy officers. But to answer your question directly, if everything is online and the connection is stable, by the way, there's a platform and there's connectivity, there's so many things that we could do to improve our academic system here in the Philippines.
First, thank you for that question because earlier on I was just sharing things that I'm doing as the Dean of the College of Flexible Learning. But that question leads me now to sharing also what I've been doing in the other institute that I said I'm also heading. So this is the Institute of Knowledge Management. And talking about the digitization, because I said I'm just 7 months old in this position. When I started office, I assumed office last year, June last year, I was in an institute where I was looking for a framework for knowledge management, and I found out we don't have that yet. And I said to myself, I think we have to start thinking on how to frame what knowledge management is in the context of PNU. And we started with, the thought of creating databases. So we have 60 units in the entire system, and I organize our write shop where all the units are represented. We have data manager per unit because what I envision for our institute or the system that I'm into is that every unit has its own database, and then there's one mother database that harmonizes all the data that we have, so that we have a sort of database. If we need something about students, then we could readily go to that database. If we want to do research, data mining, for example, that would be easy with the existence of such database. So again, in our discussion, we thought that digitization is a step to creating that sort of database. So that's a work that I'm still doing in the university, hopefully leading to a good knowledge management, knowledge creation, and utilization, particularly to inform decision making in the university. Thank you.
Just a short one, just to add. There's a downside to this, by the way. When I was still studying, LaSalle would always give you back a certain portion of your tuition if you drop, right? So obviously, I'm always overloading because they will give this to you as a check, so your parents don't know. Now that everything is digitized, my kids can't do this anymore. But it also affected another product. It's called Snowpake. Because now you could not change your class cards anymore, no? Because even if I'm in a plane, I could actually check if my kids are passing or failing.
Okay, we'll just insert something that is very closely associated and highlight something with that. The presence of data actually enables us to think better. For us administrators, as what I have always been saying, we never decide without data. There are plenty of programs that have gone to waste. Actually, had become very detrimental rather than helping, no? Because of the absence of due analysis of an available data. Second one is digitization actually facilitates interagency collaboration and interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, and even transdisciplinary works. For instance, the data of NEDA can be used via the data of DepEd, via the data of anybody at any other agency, so that we can come up with a more comprehensive and not non-sporadic programs. As I teach research, just like Ma'am, and I always tell my students, we live in a multivariate world. The variables will not wait for you. If you study one variable at a time, you will lose, aside from the fact that it will never get published. You will always lose because, for instance, if you cut off economic status from gender, from educational attainment, from any other variables and treat it two at a time, that thing never exists in the real world. We always live in a multivariate world. And the existence of these data available to us can greatly facilitate two things: sound decision making based on these available data, and more programmatic approaches in solving societal problems through interagency collaboration. It's actually one of the dreams that we have when everything is done, because from every now and then we go to agencies and they will tell us, sir, punta muna kami sa likod kasi nasa papel kasi po siya, kailangan po siyang, you know, ang daming alikabok, and so on and so forth. So if we have this will be very facilitative of our cause, and that is to you know, make everybody work. Make use of your fort to contribute positively for nation building. So it's a very good thing, actually.
Ako, I'll just make it very quick kasi nasagot na nila lahat eh. But you know, that particular question or topic, medyo fresh pa eh, because last night I just had a class. We were talking about market research, you know, information, and I was telling my students, with digitalization, information is, you know, nasa kamay mo na eh. Kuhang-kuha mo na. And it's a lot easier for people like us to make sound decisions, better decisions. Although, you know, not a lot of information you should be able to use. Kailangan, you need to filter. There are some information that are trivial. There are some information that are, okay, it's good to know, but maybe I'll use you for something else. But you need to be very discerning as well to make sure that you get the right information and use that right information for you to make the better or sound decision. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much to our panelists, and thank you for your question. We would like to entertain one more question before we close our Q&A. Yes, sir, go ahead, please, Doctor. Yes.
Good afternoon.
Arlo Magno from the Philippine Educational Measurement and Evaluation Association. Dr. Marilyn is also part of our association, board member. We recently completed a study participated by 700 schools around the Philippines, and we surveyed how far are the schools offering K-12 basic education in terms of the standards on technology integration. We use the California standards on technology integration to determine how far are the Philippine schools actually based on these particular set of standards. But of course, based on the results of the survey, that we are very far in terms of these particular standards. Part of the qualitative data that came out is that the schools really wanted to implement all of these standards, and as much as possible, they wanted to have and reach all of these standards in terms of accessibility, in terms of hardware, software availability. But the problem really is in terms of the costs of these particular software and hardware that needs to be provided in the schools. Like what he said, it's really an investment. However, when we give that same answer in terms of the focus group discussions that we did, consequences is that if they heighten the tuition, they will lose majority of their students and eventually they go to public schools. Question now is, based on your experiences and based on, what are some of the strategies to make technology and software more available to the schools so that we can have a more accessible use of technology across many schools in the Philippines?
Thank you, sir. Wow. First, as we speak, at Spring Valley Academy, we have about 50 on the job, OJTs coming from grade 12. Because apparently the entire country wasn't even ready that the tech voc side of the grade K to 12 program that we transitioned into has 2 weeks of OJT. And everybody starts looking at each other saying, okay, yeah, what are we going to do with this? So in our own small way, we jumped in, and we're not asking them to do anything. We're re-educating them again so that they could have a more solid, belief in their choice in a technology path. No. So, sir, the question is, from a software standpoint, how do we now leverage this? There is always economies of scale. But the problem is, even in the academic side, and again, let me reiterate, things are getting better. 15 years ago, every time I would talk to the academe about industry developments, again, those were what was the politically correct term that you used? The experienced people that were listening to me, no? So every time I would open my PDA, panahon pa ng PDA yun, di ba? Personal Digital Assistant, they would go, what's that, right? We don't want to do that. We don't want to use PowerPoint, etc. Acetate pa kami, if ever. High-tech na yun. It was the bane of my existence. Every time I spoke with the academe 15 years ago, they couldn't get me, I couldn't get them. They would end up irate, I would end up irate, we'd go. Then we'll talk about it again the next year, no? Same thing. So first things first, there are just too many academic organizations that are floating around. I'm not going to name all of them, but there's just too many. How could you now have economies of scale if, the public schools, universities, and colleges would have one, the private schools would have one, etc. From a business standpoint, software providers, technology providers could give it at a very, very, very small rate. If all the academic institutions would unite, because it's volume-based, right? You don't even have to spend an arm and a leg. So hopefully there's going to be a champion on the academic side that would say, please, let's settle our differences. I know we all want to be presidents and vice presidents and so on. Baliktad nga eh. Sa industry, nobody wants to become president. I was serious about nobody wanting my job, right? I'm not even a technology person. I'm supposed to be a lawyer. But I ended up being head of this association. On the academic side, everybody wants to have, okay, I want to be the head of this particular organization. If you could all pull yourselves together from an academic angle and then approach the industry, I'm pretty certain even the bigger providers would cater to this. And also, this is also the age wherein social responsibility is a responsibility. So there's going to be a lot of freebies that will be floating around. Last but not the least is there are a lot of startups that are dabbling in Edutech. I'm just surprised the number of innovations that are floating around as a thesis, no? As a thesis of your students. That could already solve your problem. So why are you talking to the bigger third-party software providers? Right? I always tell the students, please naman po, tigil nyo na yung inventory system. Lulubog na po ang Pilipinas sa dami ng inventory system. I got a call from the Board of Investments this morning saying, sir, may nag-a-apply po dito. Original, what do you call this? They have this type of application. If it's the first innovation, something like that. And I said, what is it about? Sir, it's an inventory system. Pero ma'am, lulubog na po ang Pilipinas sa dami ng inventory system dito, no? But again, I've seen, especially in the Visayas, no? I've seen a lot of students actually solve problems using, Bawal na inventory system sa inyo. Salamat po ng marami, mabuhay po kayo. But you know, these students are going to have a thesis anyway. What I tell the students is this. You're going to make it anyway, so make it good. And solve an actual problem, right? What I'm going to tell the schools is this. Use your students. The next Steve Jobs is already inside your classroom and you guys don't know it yet. Right? Yun lang po. Salamat.
Let me also share what we're doing in the university. Again, for the question on strategies that we employ to share the technologies to schools, we have this program, sa Pinas, Ikaw ang Ma'am and Sir. And because PNU has created its learning management system, that we are able to reach out to licensed teachers who have not been practicing their profession for 5 years or more to get online refresher courses. So through that platform that these teachers supposed to be teaching in the Philippines but doing non-teaching jobs in Hong Kong, Thailand, are able to access these modules that we prepared, which are delivered via that model-based learning management system that we have. Another is the sharing of our resources in our library. We used to just go to the library, look at the abstracts of theses and dissertations. Now we have digitized all these research papers that are usually unpublished so that they could be shared as well to teachers who might need this kind of resources from us. And of course, the last one is the creation of programs that could be delivered online too, so that teachers, as I've mentioned, we want to make our programs more accessible to all, so the technology that we have somehow makes us reach teachers nationwide. Thank you.
I'll be very honest, Dr. Magno. Actually, I do acknowledge your problem. And as one of the private universities, I really believe you're talking about software and really tangible stuff that other schools can use. Personally, we don't allow others to use our stuff. I mean, that's a very honest standpoint because the university has also invested too much in it. I don't really think that we can just, well, they come to us and then we teach them Pasco Scientific and some other things. But in a more systemic way, I don't have a lot of answers for that question, but I do acknowledge that that problem exists, actually. Mm-hmm. So as member of the National Basic Education Commission for SEAP, I am in agreement with the proposition that there should be a single thrust from among schools, among organizations of schools, so that we can have cheaper, just like the Google Notebook. Everybody uses it, so it's very cheap. So maybe it's something of that sort of an idea. But for now, I can only acknowledge the problem. I cannot offer any plausible solution as of yet.
Okay, so I'll just make it very quick again. I think that you were able to provide a lot of answers already, but I'll just go back to my previous answer. It's all about prioritization as well. It's all about creating a very clear roadmap. So you won't be able to do it 1 year, 2 years down the road. Create conversations with vendors, with suppliers, and then I'm sure you will find someone who will be able to help you along the way on how you'll be able to achieve your goal of digitization step by step. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We have come to the end of our session. We would like to thank our guests this afternoon for your participation and your questions, and of course to all of our panelists. But before we send you off, we would just like to ask if you could perhaps give a commitment in moving forward with the 21st century of learning. Maybe we'd like to start with
Ako muna.
Yes, go ahead. Please do the honors as our host. As our host.
No, I'm not gonna repeat my presentation, but this is Globe My Business Commitment. This shifted event. We lay down to you all the activities or all the programs that we can help enable your ecosystem of enablers. We have programs for your students, we have programs for your teachers, we have programs for your admin, your staff. Everyone, talk to us and let's create a very meaningful conversation. And that is our commitment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A commitment from Dr. Richard Lugar.
Speaking on behalf of the Basic Education Division, it's always about the students and the kids. So at the end of the day, technology or otherwise, it's important that kids are prepared. We know, everybody knows, no, that K-12 is not, we did not make K-12 because we want our students to really progress. It's actually a very externally motivated decision. We need to do APEC, and we need to do ASEAN, the ASEAN. That's why we need to be K-12. But for us, teachers, at the end of the day, it's always about the student. If you don't know what to do, equip the students. Forget about everything else, because schools exist to help students. And the existence of schools to date has the mandate of preparing our students to be 21st literate, with all of its acronyms and with all of its contents and everything else. We just want to produce good people, good citizens. And good citizenry includes already an adeptness or an expertise in something, which will be the tool to which our kids will contribute for nation building. So we always speak like that in basic ed, because at the end of the day, it's always about the kids.
Thank you.
Thank you. We commit to continue nurturing innovative teachers and education leaders in the performance of our fourfold functions in instruction, research, extension, and publication, so that we at PNU would be that nationally relevant teacher education institution to you. Thank you.
Thank you for your commitment.
I'm wearing several hats, so let me put on my first most important hat, which is the Philippine Software Industry Association. The PSIA is going to be here always for our friends in the academe, for the media, for Globe, to partner in terms of finding ways to ensure that the digital journey of the nation is going to be as smooth and progressive as possible. However, we've been talking about a lot of topics in terms of how could we react as a community towards these digital disruptions. And for once, I'm now going to speak as Spring Valley and as a citizen of this nation. Let's try to get ahead of the curve for once. Let's try to create technopreneurs. Instead of reacting, let's get ahead of the curve and basically trailblaze. That is one. Now, the only way we could do it is for the academe, together with the parents inside the room, to actually take certain things like STEM seriously. That's going to be an integral part of the equation for our nation's future. Maraming salamat po. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. Please don't leave just yet. For our closing, a wise person once articulated that when you make the most of your time, you yield wisdom as its fruit. There is so much to do and only a finite amount of time. But if we use it wisely by working together, we may one day see the fruit in the form of a globally competitive Philippines. Thank you very much to our panelists. Can we ask Dr. Richard Lugar from the University of San Carlos to please stand up, because he has shifted. Dr. Marilyn Balagtas from the Philippine Normal University has shifted. And our president of PSIA in Spring Valley, Mr. Jonathan De Luzuriaga, has shifted. And of course, our segment head for education for Globe My Business has definitely shifted, Mr. Richie Ramos. Thank you very much to our panelists, guests, ladies and gentlemen. Have you shifted? I hope you have, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. This has been your host, Pat Natividad Sevilla. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I will be requesting everyone to please join us here in front for an official group photo op. Thank you all.